Hi guys, welcome back to my channel Lush Gardener. So I quickly wanted to show you this pot of succulent arrangement. I think I might have made it a year back and I kept it in a location where I completely forgot about it. It's been quite some time and I remember I haven't watered this pot for almost 3 months if I'm not wrong. Yes, a few of the succulents that were there in this pot have perished, but it's more like survival of the fittest in nature kind of a situation over here, because the rest of the succulents are doing extremely well. Now this does not mean that you don't water your succulents for 3 months, because this all depends upon the environment, the climate, the type of soil mix, where the succulent was placed. A lot of things play an important part in this because this pot is kept in indirect bright light where there is a good amount of intensity. Direct sunlight does not fall on this pot where it was placed. Now I'm not very sure how did this succulent survived without watering, because I don't see any form of dehydration on these. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to get rid of all of these weeds and I'm going to get back to you and show you the entire setup, how the succulents tend to look, because this is very interesting. We have two of our Graptovaria titubans. Yep, so I think it's much better now to see the succulents. As I said, one of the succulent has perished. Probably it was weaker and it did not do quite well, and you can see the colors are missing on the succulent because it is kept in indirect bright light. Now probably because of indirect bright light, the succulents did not get dehydrated despite not watering them. Apart from that, there are around 5 succulents in this, and it is a plastic container with a very loose, porous, well-draining soil mix. So now recently, of course, it has started to rain, so there has been a little bit of rainwater that might have fallen into the pot, but it was not too much. It was very less. The reason is because if this pot would have been out in rain with a lot of rainwater getting into the pot, definitely my titubans would have got rotted, because titubans do not like excess moisture in the soil. So somehow there is a small little habitat that these succulents have customed themselves to, wherein they are able to sustain themselves without much water. The succulents are not extremely dehydrated, nor they are overwatered. At the same time, they are also getting a good amount of light, which means that they are not getting stretched. Now this small one is supposed to turn completely red in color. Now because of indirect bright light, it is more on the green side, which is absolutely okay. This one as well, this is my Graptovaria marpin. You can see, can't even recognize it because it does not receive direct sunlight but indirect bright light. The indirect bright light has a very good amount of intensity, hence they haven't stretched, but the only issue is that the color is missing. But I'm going to leave the pot back in its own place, the same place where it was, and I will see what happens next. Definitely the succulent is not stretching. The succulent is not getting dehydrated. The succulent is not getting overwatered. It is doing quite well. Probably the entire setup has worked out really well for them, and they have kind of adapted in this pot, and in that particular place or location they have got accustomed to it, and that's why they are not having much issue. They look very perfect, they look very compact. I don't see that the leaves are very wide open, nor they are completely closed inwards. So this is another titubans which is slightly underwatered, and you can see there's a lot of difference between both. This one receives morning direct sunlight for around 5 hours, but this one is an indirect bright light. So you can see definitely there is a little bit of difference, but at the same time these are not overwatered, otherwise they would have rotted by now, because it has been raining for almost 2 months now. So there is water getting into the pot, but it is not in an excess way. Probably it is just a little bit of water that enters in the pot, and because there are 5 succulents, they are quickly absorbing that water, and the soil is well draining, loose, porous, tends to dry out really fast. so the soil is not staying moist for a very long time. So whatever water is falling into the pot is quickly absorbed by the succulents, and then the soil tends to dry really fast. So I think that is what is working out really well, which is something that I'm really surprised about. So this shows that succulents do not like to be moved around quite often, touched or repotted every now and then, which a lot of people tend to do. If you're going to leave them in one spot, they are going to do quite well. But again, please don't do what I have done in this case. That is, I haven't watered it for almost 3 months. You do not have to do that, because most probably your succulent might not do quite well. It depends upon the environment and climate and how the succulent has adapted to it. Plus this, as I said, this is kept in indirect bright light where there's a lot of air circulation. Right now there's a lot of moisture in the environment, so probably the succulent has kind of adjusted itself in this kind of environment. Now this is just an example. You don't have to do the same thing, like not water the succulent for 3 months. Probably in your environment or climate or the type of succulent you have, it might not survive. It might probably have a dry rot, so you have to be extremely careful, because over here the situation is quite different. I don't have to water it because I can see that the succulents are plump. They have stored enough water in the leaves, so I don't have to be worried. You can see the leaves are very plump, which indicates that they are well hydrated, so I don't have to water them. In case if I would have seen them getting wrinkled, or if the leaves were going soft, I would have definitely gone and watered it. But you can see no wrinkles at all, even on the lowest leaf, which means that they are very well hydrated, so I won't be watering them.
So while editing the video, I did find the clip, so I'm adding this clip into the video. So this was on 25th of October 2023. This is how they looked. Now I realized that it was the Haworthia albicans that rotted. Whereas the top left, you can see the Haworthia onslow. That is the one that I had sold, and one of the titubans, there were 3 of them, so one of them was sold. The rest of them I had kept it as it is. The albicans that died, I did not sell it because it was very small. The rest of them were also not that large, and I usually do not sell that small of a succulent. So most probably it was the albicans that did not survive, but the all others were doing quite well. And you can see, because of the indirect bright light, they look quite different. So this is the magic of morning direct sunlight for 5 to 6 hours, and you can see how compact and how colorful the succulents are. That's why I always advise, if you have an option of morning direct sunlight for 5 to 6 hours for your brightly colored succulents, ensure you offer them that sunlight. Because if you're going to keep them in indirect bright light, or if you're going to keep them in very less light, the compactness, the colors will start to miss out. Now, of course, I'm not saying that indirect bright light is bad, because a lot of people do not receive morning direct sunlight for 5 to 6 hours. So the only option you have is either to keep them in indirect bright light with good intensity, or grow them under a grow light. So the only difference is that with morning direct sunlight for 5 to 6 hours, the succulents are going to be very compact. They are going to have that absolute beautiful intense color. But the moment you start keeping them in indirect bright light, the succulent is not going to die, or the succulent is not going to stretch. But of course, a little bit of compactness is going to be lost, and the colors will start to fade off. The colors will only show up when the succulents are being offered morning direct sunlight for 5 to 6 hours after acclimating it. Now, if I have to offer them the same amount of morning direct sunlight for 5 to 6 hours, I will have to first acclimate them and then do a slow introduction to morning direct sunlight, which I will do it some other time.
So far it's doing quite well. It all depends upon how comfortable your succulent is, but the most important thing that I said, succulents do not like to be repotted often. They do not like to be moved around. They prefer to settle in one place, and they are going to do quite well. How fast or how slow they grow, we can't have a control on that. It all depends upon the succulent. There is nothing what we can do in order to make the succulent grow faster. It all depends upon them. If they feel that the environment is compatible to them, they will do quite well. They will grow at their own pace. Remember, one of the healthy sign of the succulent is that it tends to grow very slow. We do not need to do anything. Just leave them on their own. Whenever you see that the soil is completely bone dry, wait for a couple of days and then go ahead and water it. Don't do the mistake what I have done, because I did lose one succulent in this pot. Probably that was due to lack of watering. But now, because the monsoon season is here, there's a lot of humidity, it has been raining, somehow this pot does get watered. Probably a little bit of water does end up in the pot, but not excess, because as I said, if it was excess water, my titubans would have definitely got rotted. So that's about it. I just wanted to share this video and show you that how succulents can still do quite well without being tossed around, without being moved around. A lot of people tend to touch them, so you have to be extremely careful that you do not move the succulent every now and then. Let them stay in one place, and trust me, they are going to do quite well. So that's about it, guys. I hope that this video was helpful to you. If it was, please hit the like button, and if you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing to it. Until then, take care, stay safe, and keep propagating.